Hello, everybody. Feels great to be here. I'm happy to be here. And yeah, let's talk about our favorite thing today. So it's a great day to talk about Angular. Like Katarina just introduced me, I'm part of the team. I'm joined like I'm some kind of nobody that's spawned somehow, I think about 2.5 years ago, 3 years ago, in the community out of nowhere, dropping some PRs, things like this, starting contributing after using Angular for about 10 years. And today I wanted to share a bit about what I learned about what it takes to build a framework like Angular. So I want to share with you that part where how we build Angular, so you understand more what it takes, how it impacts the team, and how it impacts and helps you build better applications. So first, I'm Matthieu Riegler, I'm from France. So I'm part of the team as a contractor for Google. You can find me on all the famous social networks. And some of you might know, if you follow me on the social networks, I'm often the dude that codes on the train. Like, for example, I came from France with the Eurostar, and I sent a PR from the Eurotunnel 2 days ago. So yeah, if you ask the question, there is 4G network and Wi-Fi on the train while you are under the channel. So, about Angular. Behind Angular, there's a team of real people, and you met some of them already today. You got the framework people, you got the DevRels, for example, you got the people working on the tooling, you got the people working on the components. When I say components, like things like the CDK and material, and a lot other more. So it's a team of real people that builds it. But also, of course, it's people like you from the community. When you drop some PRs, when we give some feedbacks, you open issues, you tell us, yeah, this is what I want, this is what looks broken to me. It's also you that makes the framework what it is. And Angular lives in our hearts, but also it lives actually on GitHub. So you might not know, you might know that where we work, most of the day, when we ship code, when we write things, when we listen to feedback, it's on GitHub. The GitHub repo, Angular, we have other repos like for Angular material, for the CLI, things like this. So our point of interaction, I would say, with the community, but also where we ship the code, it's on GitHub, like probably some of you already do at work. But also you need to understand that Angular is a framework that is built at Google, but by Google developers. And this implies a lot of things. You might not know, but Google has a gigantic monorepo. When I say gigantic, it's more than 2 billion lines of code that are checked in. It holds most of Google apps, more than half. When I say you have things like Google Search, you have things like, don't see my notes. YouTube, of course, the console, Firebase, things like this. So a lot of application. Other things that are not in it is like Android, Chromium that have separate repositories. So, and inside Google's monorepo, we have like more than 4,000 Angular apps. So Google is a huge consumer of Angular apps and building a lot of apps. That monorepo is something that is very custom. It's not a technology you would see on the outside. It's not using Git because of its size. It uses something that is named Piper. It's a centralized versioning system. And basically, when you work on it, you don't have branches like in the usual sense that you see on Git, for example. It is trunk-based. You have single version that everyone shares. We have a I would say, when I saw it for the first time, a very complex building system, but also when I say complex, it's also very powerful. It allows you to build complex application and still keep the build times reasonable. And also very interesting is that because you have everything that is custom, having a gigantic monorepo, you won't download everything on your own machine. People work on a fork, you could say, of a VS Code, which is called Cider, that allows you to access all the files that you need to on the monorepo. So basically, the environment that exists inside Google is very custom and very different also from what the Angular team works when they develop Angular itself. But you need to understand that, yes, when we ship features on Angular, it happens on GitHub, but Angular also lives inside the monorepo. So we sync regularly the code from GitHub toward J3, so people at Google can use Angular too, and an updated version. You might see, if you look at the DOM, you know that if you look at the DOM, you will see the version of your application that is displayed. Usually, if right now you build your own application, you would see 20.something appear in the DOM next to the ng version. When the application is built at Google, you will see on displayed application something like 00 placeholder. It just means that internally, the applications do not rely on external versions that are published on NPM. Every application that is built is basically built from the head of the repository of J3, so the latest commit is the one that is used to build the Angular applications, which implies directly that everything that is committed and merged is actually directly used by applications that are built at the moment. Just so you know, the example I'm showing here, that's one from Google Fonts. You can check it yourself. If you go Google Fonts, you open the dev tools, check the DOM, and you'll see 00 placeholder. An interesting that I learned really quickly is that breaking changes impact Google directly. Like I said before, when we merge something, it is directly used by every Angular application inside Google that is built. So having a breaking change actually implies that the team is responsible for the things it breaks. So imagine you merge something, oh yeah, you broke 4,000 applications. Yeah, everybody's very happy at Google. So it means that when we break something, we actually need to fix it first to be allowed to merge it. So imagine that because of this, we cannot afford to be too breaking. So for this, we'll leverage a lot the monorepo. So being able to have the access to all the Angular applications that exist at Google, we can test every change toward all the applications, saying we want to test something, we don't know if it's how breaking it is or I think like this. So we are able to say, if you look at some PRs, we mentioned some words that are pretty cryptic, like a pre-submit or something that we call a TGP. We want to test the change against the whole monorepo. It means building all the Angular applications, means running all the tests, unit tests, integration tests, and also, for example, screenshot tests. So we're able to test all the Angular applications and say, okay, this change, we are pretty confident it broke nothing at Google, so it should break nothing for you. It gives us a lot of confidence when we merge features, when we test on such a large base to ship something that is non-breaking for you. But sometimes it happens that, yeah, we missed something. And often what happens, someone from another team say, hey, you broke something on our project. Can you double check? Should we do a forward fix? Can you revert it maybe? So it means that if something breaks, we're usually notified in a few hours. and that's before it even hits a release version. So it means that the breakages are noticed even before we even ship something to you, which means that whenever we ship a version, which happens usually every week with a patch release, this is something that is actually being tested everywhere, and we know already that it wasn't shoe breaking inside of Google. So it gives us, again, a huge confidence, and when we ship, there is nothing that is usually unexpected from us. But, so, about changes. I learned I want to say the hard way, that sometimes landing changes that look easy actually aren't. Probably 2.5 years, I tried to do something, issue 30, it was a PR, 30,296. I want to change the types of query list changes because it has something that had, it had observable any, not great to have any in your types. I wanted to do just change it to observable T. I thought, yeah, it's a very simple change. It's one line on the class, and yeah, I thought it was easy. But again, we tested the change against Google's code base, and we saw it broke a lot of applications because any was too permissive, and we decided not to make the change, for example, because it takes a lot of time. Imagine if you have to migrate hundreds of projects that rely on that permissive type. So we decided that it was not worth our time to land. And instead, in the meantime, we introduced things like the signal queries. By queries, I mean the view child, content child, view children, content children, that have actually the better types already built in. So if you want to have the better typing, you can actually directly use the new APIs, and the old ones just keep that, let's say, suboptimal typing. So about features. When we talk about Angular, I was actually really curious. I spent probably way too long to try the first commits on Angular's repo. It dates back to September 18th, so almost 11 years ago. That's 2 years, I think, before Angular was released first, if I'm correct. So 2 years before Angular 2.0 was released, the first commit of Angular itself was made. When I say Angular, it doesn't include AngularJS, of course. So if you look at it, Angular is a long-term project. Before collaborating on Angular, the project I was working on didn't have more than 1 or 2 years of existence. So thinking, when I saw the codes after 2 years, I was like, oh yeah, it doesn't age well. Having a project aging over 10 years is like, I want to say it's a difficult feat. So it needs a lot of work to understand what it takes to make a code base age well and gives the right direction to evolve things like a framework. So to build Angular, we have imagined a huge backlog of all the ideas that come from people from the team, ideas that come from the outside of the team inside Google. So other teams, they say, okay, we have some ideas that we were interested in Angular, but also a lot of famous GitHub issues. You could see that if you go on issues, you can sort by thumbs up and see what kind of issues are people are looking for. So in the past, one of the top issues that was, we had having types for the forms, have the template variables, etc., etc. So we have a huge backlog that is basically ordered like you would have on any project, the highest priorities at the top. But the project also is, I want to say, led by long-term goals. So what are the main ideas, the key ideas that the team wants to follow that gives us the projection of several years? Where do we want to be in multiple years? This helps us decide what kind of features we want to land in the framework and what others are say, okay, it doesn't fit the idea of the long-term project that we have. For example, it's great when we go toward having TypeScript expressions supported by the templates. So we add more and more things that are supported inside our templates that match the TS syntax. Things like going toward the single file compilation. That's something that would allow us to be closer to the ecosystem in terms of how the tooling works, improve the compile time, things like this. These are the kind of ideas that lets the decision on what needs to be done and what decision doesn't go into the right direction. So to support the project's long-term success, we have things like a lot of documentation that are internal, like how we discuss what we want to add and keep the track of it so we can look at it back, why we made some decisions, what are the key features that we decided to implement. So we have documents like product requirements, architectural decision records, design docs. These are the docs that are shared inside the team, discussed a lot before introducing them. And these help us also look back to understand where we are today. Also, things that helps a lot, I understood so with the time, is having a well-commented code base, trying to understand why some workarounds had to be built in, having the right issues linked directly into the comments. Few lines just explaining, hey, we have to do this because, or having a to-do, yeah, we know that for now we have this, but we want to fix later. Just a well-commented code base helps a lot, the code base age well. And also something that I clearly underestimated before working on the project was like how valuable is a very clean commit tree. Being able to understand where a feature, where a bug fix was introduced, for which context, so you can just go back in time and understand the context in which version, for example, something was introduced, and etc. So these are the key ideas that help the project having a long-term success. But also something that helps a lot is when people make what I would call good feature requests. A good feature request is always someone that says, hey, look, here I have this issue, I have this use case that I think is not addressed, and I'm showing to you, hey, this is what I'd like to do, and with my repo I can show you either it doesn't work or the code that I need to write isn't really the best for what I want to do. So I want you to express things better. So good feature requests include the use case or repro. Sometimes we get feature requests like, I want this, but what we understand is, no, you don't want this, you want that. And also just expressing what you think you want also helps us understand what we think you need. And sometimes a feature request actually what we call an XY problem is you think you want one thing, but you want other things. And sometimes happens that what you want is something that we already have. But by explaining what you want, it helps us guide you toward the right direction. So all of this led us to several years ago what we call today the Angular Renaissance. And with the Angular Renaissance, we have things like we have, for example, a lot of new APIs like the signals, etc. And something that I learned from Pavel, which told me once in a meeting, is that it's easy to say, okay, we have patterns with the existing APIs because we have like 10 years to look back and understand what people use and how they use it. With new APIs, I want to say the use cases, the patterns take time to settle. So there's something important, it's not to rush the decision, not to rush new APIs, because it's important to understand what you want, how you want to use it, so we get a clearer image of what we think you will need and what we think you will want in terms of APIs. So with the Renaissance, I would say, okay, we ship slowly new features as we see that the patterns start to settle, and that's what you want. So next up, with all the amount of work, V21 is already on its way. The release date is already available. If you look on our docs, we keep a roadmap for every minor and major version available on the docs, angular.dev, and we schedule the next version for mid-November. So that was it for me, but I just wanted to say one thing. It's not about Angular, actually. Is that I've been asked several times what kind of tool I do use for my slides. And this is something called slide.dev. It's built on top of Vue. It's kind of a great tool to write your technical slides. It's based on Markdown, things like this. And I just want to give a shout out to this because more generally, the web ecosystem is massive and it's great. So we build a great framework like Angular, but other great things exist also in the ecosystem. So I wanted to give a shout out to other tools that exist in the community. So thank you so much for being such a great community. My slides are available shortly after my talk on my website. And I hope you have a great day here at Angular Connect. Thank you so much.